Hey, what's up, everybody? Happy Halloween. Hope you're having a good, safe, fun weekend. This Halloween, it's crazy already. We're just getting started, right? We still have three big fight cards tonight. And we ain't even talking about that right now on boxing Twitter. Everyone's talking about Deontay Wilder. Why? Because he released a 2-minute long video today on his Twitter. And it wasn't just the video itself, it was a series of tweets that followed that video that really, look, Deontay Wilder has had some doozies recently, right? And he's said some inflammatory, radical, if not extremist things in the past. But it seems each one of these social media posts, especially these videos that are subsequent to his loss to Tyson Fury earlier this year, are getting worse and worse. And this one really is the worst one yet. So, of course, I want to talk a little bit about this because I'm starting to seriously question Deontay Wilder's mental health. Also, the mental health of some of his fans and how they're going to spin this. Him, his team, his lackeys in the media, and he does have some, and a portion of his fans, not all of his fans, because a lot of Deontay Wilder's fans are just regular boxing fans. But there's a small segment of Deontay Wilder fans that I really don't think are boxing fans as much as they are Wilder fans. And these are the guys earlier this year that made videos about Glovegate and all these conspiracy theories, right? So let me backtrack just a little bit for those of you who have been sleeping under a rock this whole year and you don't know what's going on and the backstory between Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury, really, really briefly. They fought earlier this year, of course. It was their rematch. The first fight was a draw, I think, in late 2018. Rematch in February. Tyson Fury dominates. He wins every second of every round, drops Wilder twice, bludgeons him, beats him up, to the point where Mark Breland in Wilder's corner, correctly doing the right thing, throws in the towel, stops the fight. And then Kenny Bayless waves it off, fights over. Tyson Fury gets the victory. He is now the premier heavyweight in the division. So right after that fight, Deontay Wilder made a couple of excuses. And one of them was that the suit he wore to the ring was too heavy. Mind you, there was videos of him in this camp and other training camps wearing a 45-pound weighted vest, working out in that vest and talking about, I always work out with this weighted vest, that makes me strong. And that's pretty much what the suit weighed. So it came off looking hypocritical, and it just was one of the worst excuses we've seen. Probably not the craziest, but it's up there. It's toward the top, right? Boxers throughout the history of boxing have made excuses when they lose. It's kind of like tradition, especially with heavyweights. But this was a completely new one, and a lot of us in the media had fun with it for about a week after the fight. But after that, you start to get these Glovegate conspiracy theory videos, right, from Deontay Wilder fans. Again, not from all his fans, from a segment of his fan base that kind of looked at Deontay Wilder as a god. They literally look at him as a deity. He embodies or symbolizes something to them to where when he lost, they lost their minds. And there are all these videos. They're still out there. You guys could find them. And some of these guys that were making these videos are completely new to boxing. They ain't even part of fight media or anything like that. They weren't even making videos, I think, a year ago or anything. They just were these conspiracy theory dudes that jumped down with this Glovegate stuff, right? And they were taking still frame photos from the first fight, from the second fight, putting them together, taking a 1-second clip and slowing it down, make it 10 seconds long, and look at this shadow and look at this fold in the glove and all this crazy stuff, right? There was even a conspiracy theory where somehow Tyson Fury used mental telepathy to influence the Durrell brothers, to influence Mark Breland to throw in the towel. I saw that one. There was a woman who made a video accusing Tyson Fury of witchcraft and devil worshiping and using witchcraft and wizardry to beat Deontay Wilder. I'm not making this shit up. It's all out there. You guys can see that. And some of these dudes made a lot of money off those videos. But to Deontay Wilder's credit, he never gave into any of that stuff. He never fed into it. He never talked about any of it at all. In fact, for the most part, over the summer, it's been radio silence from Deontay Wilder. And there's been a couple of posts, and the couple of posts he has made are bizarre. He calls himself a king. He talks about he will rise again. There's a lot of religious zealotry to the way he speaks. And it comes off almost like he's a cult leader talking to his subjects. That's the dynamic of some of these posts. And each subsequent post seems to get more and more bizarre. And just the feeling of them is just more and more out there, right? And this one today on Halloween, which has only been posted for, I think, 3 hours now, and it's already got hundreds of thousands of plays. This thing will get over 1 million plays on social media. It will go viral. It's already starting to as I record this video, right? So there are going to be people who spin this a certain way. I want to talk about that. I want to talk about some of his language in the video and the subsequent tweets to the video. We're going to get into all of this, but the one thing that really stood out to me in the video, and I'm not going to play it here. You guys can find it. Go on his social media. Go on my social media. I retweeted the thing, okay? I pinned it at the top of my Twitter profile, so you can see that. But there were 2 sentences that came off to me. And again, Wilder has said stuff in the past that is very, very inflammatory and radical. And look, just divisive, okay? Just very, very divisive. We've all screwed up, particularly on social media. It's part of the new world we live in. Social media is here to stay. It's going to be a part of human life going forward for the rest of human existence. And we're learning and adjusting and adapting to how it affects our lives. We've all said things or posted things on social that we would take back in a heartbeat. I know I have. We all have. So I try not to be judgmental, and I try to give people the benefit of the doubt. And there's things that Wilder has said in the past that I've criticized, but you let that go. It's like, hey, man, we all screw up. We all say stupid things sometimes. It's part of being human. But this is part of a chain, dude. This is like links in a chain that goes back several years now. And like I said, each one seems to get more and more out there and bizarre. And the way a portion of his fandom and his lackeys in the media and his team, his management, spins this stuff, it's really, really interesting. And I just wonder how they're going to try to spin this one. But today's video, there are biblical passages he makes in it in the beginning and in the end. It's 2 minutes, like I said. And he brings up or hints to colonialism and stuff going back centuries and somehow ties that to his fight with Fury. It had nothing to do with it. It's just really, really heavy. The stuff... And again, it comes off like a cult leader talking to his subjects. It comes off like somebody who's mentally and emotionally a little unhinged. It may need people around him who care about him to reel him in a little bit and say, dude, let's slow down a little bit. This is just boxing, okay? But 2 sentences stand out. Crab in a bucket referee. He called Kenny Bayless a crab in a bucket referee. Now, for those of you who don't know that term, look it up, Google it. There's some heavy subtext to that expression and that phrase, particularly in the context of Deontay Wilder talking about colonialism and all this heavy racialized stuff that he's brought up before. So throwing that term out there to Kenny Bayless, who went above and beyond to help out and protect Deontay Wilder in that fight, I thought. He was warning Tyson Fury. He was giving Wilder assistance in the clinches, in the breaks. He was helping Wilder out, and he was very, very attentive and focused on Wilder, had his safety in mind. I've been critical of Kenny Bayless with some of his performances in recent years, but by no means was he being biased against Deontay Wilder in that fight at all. You could make an argument he was helping Wilder. I'm not saying in a conspiratorial way, but he was giving Wilder the benefit of every doubt. Again, look at the clinches, look at the breaks, and look at how he was focused. Kenny Bayless was so focused on Wilder and his face, his eyes, had his safety in mind at all times. But Bayless didn't stop the fight. He was letting Wilder fight as long as he could. He was really trying to give him every chance that he could give him to win that fight. Other referees would have stopped that fight sooner. You know damn well that is the case. So for Wilder to bring up that statement is disgusting and indefensible. And I don't know how any of his lackeys in the media / YouTube, boxing, Twitter, whatever, are going to defend that statement. It is absolutely indefensible. Kenny Bayless, mind you, was one of Floyd Mayweather's favorite referees. He's been a house guy there, an establishment dude in Nevada for years. When I say house guy, I mean he, generally speaking, protects, favors the house fighter, okay? Just go back and look at the record. And Deontay Wilder was the house fighter in this situation. Also, another statement, disloyal trainer. Deontay Wilder said if it wasn't for a crab-in-a-bucket referee and a disloyal trainer, blah, 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 blah. Disloyal trainer, bringing up Mark Breland. Mark Breland did everything he could to help Deontay Wilder out, guided this guy who has serious flaws. Let's just be, let's be nice with this, but serious flaws in his game. Lacks fundamental boxing skills, cannot fight backing up, cannot move to the 3 or the 9. Just goes 6 and 12. That's it, right? Has a jab and a 2. That's pretty much it. No other punches. Chin up in the air, all over the place. Mark Breland was able to take this kid who went to boxing late, get him to the Olympics where he medaled, and get this guy into a world title. And his team of management was able to guide his career against B and C level opposition, working with the WBC and everybody else to ensure that he had, how many title defenses did this dude have without fighting a top elite level heavyweight? It wasn't until he fought Luis Ortiz, who I think's a little overrated, where he fought an elite level heavyweight. And then Tyson Fury, obviously we know is an elite level heavyweight. And we saw what happened. This dude's team, including Mark Breland, did an outstanding job for him. And in the rematch with Fury, Breland went above and beyond, protected his fighter, saved Wilder from further punishment, may have saved his career, may have even saved years of his life. Because later in life, all the punishment you take as a young man in the ring, that really starts affecting you in your 50s, 60s, 70s, right? So who knows how many years, months or years of Deontay Wilder's life, or at least quality of life, Mark Breland saved or improved with his decision to stop that fight. It was absolutely the right thing to do. Disloyal trainer? Are you kidding me? Those two statements alone, forget all the religious zealotry and the racialized rhetoric and the divisive political stuff. Put all that aside. Wilder's not the only guy who goes there in boxing, right? There's plenty of boxers that say crazy shit all the time. But crab in a bucket referee for Kenny Bayless and disloyal trainer to describe Mark Breland, that's just absolutely disgusting, particularly knowing Mark Breland was a fighter, and he knows, he has seen, he's been in the trenches, he has seen men's lives get ruined. He's seen men walk into the ring and walk out different for the rest of their lives. He knew what he was doing when he stopped that fight. Disloyal trainer, disgusting, absolutely indefensible comment, and I don't know how anybody is going to defend Deontay Wilder on this one. And I've taken a lot of heat from certain people. There was a PBC stat boy who like collected stats for PBC on Fox FS1 or whatever, that still to this day routinely goes after me. When I was recently brought on by the BWAA, the International Boxing Hall of Fame, brought me on as a voter, this dude and several other of his friends constantly go after me. And one of the things they bring up is my criticism of Deontay Wilder. They never bring up my defending of Deontay Wilder, mind you, because there are instances where Deontay Wilder is deserved to be defended. He didn't do anything wrong in that case with Alexander Povetkin. That was all 100% on Alexander Povetkin. Deontay Wilder didn't duck Povetkin. But in this case, dude, Wilder is wrong. He is flat out wrong here. There is just no defending these statements. I also want to read you guys, word for word, one of the tweets under Wilder's video that he posted. I'm going to read this. There's several of them, but I just want to read one that stands out, okay? Because I think it's relevant to this whole discussion, particularly with the Glovegate guys on YouTube. So Wilder is talking to Tyson Fury over Twitter here, right? He references their first fight, and I quote, when the fight was a draw, I told you I would give you a rematch. You know I was offered more money to fight Joshua than I was getting to fight you. Again, being a man of my word, I fought you like I said I would. Did you guys get that? You know I was being offered more money to fight Joshua than I was getting to fight you. Remember the rhetoric coming from Deontay Wilder's handlers, his lackeys in the media, and all the Glovegate LDBC guys on YouTube. I won't say all. Many, not all, many of the LDBC guys saying that Anthony Joshua was ducking Deontay Wilder, right? That was the promotional message coming out from that side. Meanwhile, DAZN offered Deontay Wilder over $100 million. It included a fight with Dominic Breazeale where they were going to grossly overpay him, even more than Steven Espinoza at Showtime overpaid him for that fight. And 2 fights with Anthony Joshua, over $100 million. He turned that shit down. And he ultimately went the PBC route, stayed with them. did the first fight in the rematch with Fury. The rest is history. But this is from Deontay Wilder's mouth, or from his fingertips, if you will, because he tweeted it. He's admitting right here, I was offered more money to fight Joshua, but I fought you. So what that essentially is saying is, yes, Team Anthony Joshua / Eddie Hearn, Matchroom, DAZN, however you want to word it, they made an offer to Deontay Wilder, and he turned it down. So all of that rhetoric, go back and watch the YouTube videos from all the typical suspects, right, on YouTube and everything else. And you guys will see the videos where they say AJ's ducking Wilder, blah, blah, blah. That was a narrative that was going around for at least a year or so. Now we see clearly from Deontay Wilder himself, after the fact, that whole narrative has been exposed as bullshit. Those of us who were telling you it was bullshit back then, we got called all sorts of names. We got labeled all sorts of nasty stuff. And now here it is. After all these dudes made their clickbait videos and made their money, now the truth comes out from the source. So what do you have to say now? Funny how that shit goes, right? Actually, Eddie Hearn retweeted that tweet and quoted it and said something like, I'm paraphrasing, but he said something like, I thought AJ was ducking you. What happened? Something like that. Genius trolling by Eddie Hearn. And by the way, it's okay to have a little bit of fun. If you're a member of the media or a member of the boxing community, including fighters, promoters, when a fighter gives you something like that to go with. I do think some people take it too far. I do think some people cross a line. And again, I know there have been times where I've tweeted things that I look back and I'm like, you know what? I shouldn't have gone there. And I'm trying to learn and do better myself. But with stuff like this, man, how could you not take that and retweet it and just expose the hypocrisy in all of this? So I wanted to bring this up because I just think, guys, is this someone who's mentally unfit and kind of unraveling before our eyes because he's had everything? There was a golden path laid out for him and everything's been very, very easy. And now it's difficult and he doesn't quite know how to respond. Or is this somehow some masterful troll by Deontay Wilder to promote a third fight with Tyson Fury? I will say the timing of this whole thing looks really, really funny, okay? In regards to the contract situation, I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. We could talk about that in my podcast, The Neutral Corner, this coming Monday. If you want, call in. We'll talk about it. But the timing of it kind of looks funny. I'll also say this. My prediction is that people are going to spin this as a masterful social media game by Deontay Wilder to get us all talking about him on a day where Tank Davis has this showcase pay-per-view to promote him, PBC on Showtime, just the way they used Mikey Garcia to promote Errol Spence. They're doing the same thing now. That doesn't make any damn sense to me. If you're Deontay Wilder and you wanted to, first of all, crash the party and jump on someone else's promotion and break the internet with this crazy video and everything else, why would you do it now? Why wouldn't you do it a couple weeks ago and you had a much bigger fight, Lomachenko-Lopez? Because number one, that's a much bigger fight. But number two, Top Rank was the promoter of that fight. Who fights for Top Rank that Deontay Wilder has beef with? Tyson Fury. So if you're going to stick it to Tyson Fury and Top Rank, why wouldn't you, if this was all an elaborate video, right? And by the way, I should state, this video was edited. It's not just Deontay Wilder ranting into a phone. There's music, there's like dramatic movie score, soundtrack music, and there's a couple of clips of Tyson Fury in there that he accuses of using an egg weight in his glove, which is absolutely impossible to do with the Nevada State Athletic Commission there watching him be gloved up, taped up and gloved up, and a member from Deontay Wilder's team being present in the locker room watching Tyson Fury get taped up, gloved up, and it being filmed, because now those procedures are filmed. Usually somebody has a smartphone out and they're filming it, taking photos. Everything's signed off on. The chain of custody with the gloves, they were in NSAC's possession until the night of the fight. People that were making videos about Glovegate and stuff have no idea. They're ignorant to the procedures, especially in Nevada, who has obviously a lot of huge fights. But Deontay Wilder, in that video accuses Tyson Fury of Glovegate and all this kind of stuff. It just, if you were going to stick it to Fury and Top Rank, why would you do this on the date where there's a PBC show, a PBC on Showtime show? because he's not promoting that show. He didn't mention a damn thing about that show in this video. If this was an elaborate scheme, right? This genius, this mastermind, why wouldn't you do this on the day of the Lomachenko-Lopez fight? Much bigger fight, much bigger social media traffic, much bigger mainstream media traffic. Even the UFC, MMA media picked up that fight and was talking about it. No one's talking about Davis Santa Cruz. This only diehard boxing fans and Gervonta Davis and Leo Santa Cruz fans are watching this fight and talking about it, right? It's not even trending right now on social media. I just checked. So that whole narrative, which those Glovegate guys, that's how they're going to spin this. They're going to spin this as genius social media trickery from Deontay Wilder. Watch, mark my words. It doesn't make any damn sense. It doesn't hold water. So anyway, guys, those are my thoughts real quick. Obviously, I bring up this because our latest issue of Ring Magazine, actually the new one coming out has the Charlo brothers on the cover, but the current one that's out has Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua, and I think it's relevant because this is the guy that Deontay Wilder is obsessed over right now, the premier heavyweight. The number 2 heavyweight, Anthony Joshua, he took a hard L against Andy Ruiz. Remember that shit? Remember that? And all the AJ Duck and Wilder people were jumping up and down. It was like a national holiday for those guys. What did Anthony Joshua do in that, just the aftermath? He got humble. He went back to basics. He went back to boxing. And he won the rematch. And it wasn't the most exciting fight, but he boxed. He outboxed Andy Ruiz because he's a much better fighter than Andy Ruiz. I told you all, the second after that first fight, when they announced they were going to do the rematch, Anthony Joshua was going to win the rematch. He's going to win it big. Go back and watch the videos, okay? Go back and watch. It's all there. That's how you handle a tough L. And as popular as Deontay Wilder is here in America, he's somewhat popular in certain communities, on social media, the reality TV industry, hip-hop community, but he is nowhere near as popular as Anthony Joshua is over in the United Kingdom. Over in the UK, Joshua might be the most famous sportsman, the most famous athlete alive right now in that part of the world. So imagine the weight on his shoulders after that loss, and look how he handled it. Now look, Anthony Joshua said some really stupid things on social media, on his Instagram, racialized rhetoric, politicized rhetoric, divisive stuff. We're all human beings. We all go there. No one is perfectly without sin when it comes to that sort of thing. So I'm not sitting here saying AJ is a perfect angel, but the way he handled that loss and came back and won that fight against Andy Ruiz, the way he handled his business in the ring, that's how you do it, man. And you go back and look at his social media and everything else, after that first fight, when he took a hard knockout loss, just like Wilder did to Fury, and you look at the responses from Anthony Joshua, from Deontay Wilder, it's night and day, man. Night and day. So where does Deontay Wilder go from here? I'm curious what you guys think. I'm curious what you think of this whole post by him. Does any of it bother you? Again, I will state, I don't really give a shit about all the weird religious stuff and all the hints to colonialism and all this stuff. What bothered me was the crab in the bucket referee and the disloyal trainer comments. Those are completely indefensible, and I'm very curious to see how his guys are going to defend that stuff, because I just can't see any way around it, man. Those are just two asinine statements that he should walk back. All right, guys, the Neutral Corner, Monday, we're going to have Christy Martin on. So make sure you check that out live, the Ring Digital YouTube channel, and all of my profiles if you want to listen to the audio versions. All podcast platforms around the world at Montero on Boxing. All right, I'll see you at the fights.